to get going. Gotta catch those runners taking off like a Boeing. If the volume spikes, then it's time to trade. Mighty 90 setting up, it's time to get paid. Dr. Chad on the mic, time to get focused. We don't need any indicator, hocus pocus. It's all about the price, just watch it move. Manage your risks so you don't lose. First hour of trading is all we need. Focus on the patience and forget about greed.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's day trading live stream. Today is Wednesday, May 14th. S&P up 10, NASDAQ up 50, Russell down 5, Dow up 63. Gold and silver are selling off, both down about 1.7%. Notes and bonds a little bit green, 10-year yield a little bit red. Oil down 0.5%, natural gas down 3.5%. Soybeans a little bit green, wheat and corn a little red. Euro and the pound are both slightly green. Bitcoin is down a little over 0.5%, currently at about 104,000 and change. VIX was up a little bit. It's contracted slightly. It's basically flat. Currently at 18.21, assuming it doesn't contract here through the freeze into the open. Looks like the 1 DTE will qualify, so that will fire. So I'll post that once that enters shortly after the market opens. We've got a few stocks gapping up. We've got, SMCI is up 19%. Huge mover. I saw an analyst upgrade on it. I guess that was it, but it seems like a big move just for an analyst upgrade. AMD's also up over 6%. NVIDIA and Tesla are both up 2.5%. Meta's up almost 1%. Got the opening bell here in less than 2 minutes. So one thing to keep in mind, or I'm kind of thinking out loud, talking to myself too here, but after a big day yesterday, day trading, it's really important, especially for me, to be aware of my emotions and not, I posted on X this morning to be aware of your euphoric emotions. Where everything went right yesterday, and today's a totally different day. The price action is going to be different than it was yesterday, so you can't take what you did yesterday and apply it to today. You have to really come in with a clean slate, and not think that you can just do the same thing you did yesterday today, because, like I said, the price action is totally different. So it's important to have that mindset coming into each day. I know from experience, I've learned that through hard lessons and hard experience. So I'm trying to save you all from the mistakes that I made. But things are looking, opening kind of flat. There's no news scheduled today. Of course, any kind of random thing that comes out, potentially tariff related, could obviously move the market or other things, but might be a good premium selling day. We'll see. So Meta, NVIDIA, and Tesla all gapped up above yesterday's highs. BABA. PLTR ticked above yesterday's high in the pre-market. It's sold off a little bit here at the open, or coming into the open. Let's see, I didn't catch the expected move here. SPX. Let's see, what did Krish have it at? 33.65. So about a point less than yesterday, pretty similar. NDX showing about 168. Very similar to yesterday. Indices on their way up. NASDAQ just above yesterday's high. Heading up towards pre-market highs. Apple trying to go green. Amazon right around unchanged as well. Netflix going green. Tesla coming down. Meta coming down. Microsoft pushing up. All right, here comes my 1 DTE. VIX is still over 18, so it's my high VIX version. So I just posted that. NVIDIA pushing up to pre-market highs. Banks are relatively unchanged. JP, GS, and Bank of America all pretty close to unchanged. Coinbase moving up above yesterday's high again. MSTR trying to go green. QQQ is pushing. Bitcoin is pushing. All right, so we got NVIDIA pushing up above its pre-market high. SMH, strongest sector again today. Tesla also pushing up to pre-market highs. See if NVIDIA reacts off that pre-market high and keeps shooting up. Microsoft holding above yesterday's high. MU had a big drop pre-market about 30 minutes ago. It's kind of recovered all of that now. Google's pushing up. Dave S, no, I don't really look at volume when it comes to runners. I mean, I do. I mean, it's always on my chart, and so if there's kind of an anomaly of some really big volume, I definitely pay attention to that. But no, it doesn't really factor into my trading of runners. I'm going to take an early runner in NVIDIA here. I'm going to do the 136 calls right at pre-market highs. Filled at 172. So pre-market high is my line in the sand. Microsoft acting strong out of the gate. Did you watch the video yesterday, Krish? PLTR pulling back to yesterday's high or pre-market highs. Google pushing. NVIDIA still right there. Goog, pretty good bounce back from that big drop last week. It's almost recovered the entire drop. All right, so NVIDIA's not really holding too well. I'll give it a little room, little time, see if it wants to snap back up above, but otherwise I'll just cut it for a small loss here. S&P and NASDAQ pulling back a little bit. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut NVIDIA here. I really wanted to see a quick, or excuse me, a hold and a quick push up. PLTR pulling back to yesterday's high. MSTR is acting strong. Google's acting strong. Yeah, I'm putting together kind of a way that I'll be kind of posting some trades live. You know, I just can't post every day trade the way that I've like yesterday, the way that I did it. It's just impossible. But I will be putting together a very mechanical process and posting those. But I mean, the best way is to just learn how to do it. Trying to follow somebody else's trades when they post is just not a way to do it. It's just not a way to. It's a way to learn in real time, but it's just not a way to. It should never be part of your trade plan. Google, look at Goog. Googie McGoogerson. Tesla went up and ticked through pre-market highs and came back. Hood is trying to hold above yesterday's high. So MSTR had a big volume bar. Pulled back a little bit. Didn't see any others. Bank's starting to act strong. It was great, Dark Avenger. Thanks for asking. Went to a Japanese restaurant, had some sushi. Place we'd never been before. So MSTR's pulling back. Another big volume bar, though, on the reversal. SMCI, which was up, I think it like 17% at one point. It's only up about 13, coming down since the open.
Order filled. Order filled.
Now MSTR, yeah, decent reversal there. I'm not going to take anything on MSTR. Yeah, Nvidia couldn't hold. Seen a little downside. S&P, NASDAQ coming down. Bitcoin coming down. Hood and Coin couldn't hold above. Yeah, Hood, Coin, and MSTR. None of those could hold above yesterday's high. All following Bitcoin. Don't see any mighty 90s setting up. Oh, Goog. Big reversal in Goog now. Microsoft is holding. Came down to yesterday's high and bounced. So Microsoft definitely showing some relative strength here. S&P down to unchanged. Russell down almost 0.5%. Yeah, Microsoft's holding really well. I would think that it will potentially pop if we get a bounce here.
Order filled.
Amazon down to yesterday's lows. NASDAQ down to unchanged. Microsoft ticked a new high. All right, I'm going to get in Microsoft using yesterday's high as my line in the sand. 452 half calls in Microsoft. 452 halves filled at 299. Now, if this market keeps moving lower, it could drag Microsoft down too, but that was a really good hold with that flush. SMH is still green. XLK is still green. All the other sectors are now red. Netflix is staying strong. Just below yesterday's high. NASDAQ came right down to unchanged. SPX went into the red. Let's see if the Qs can stay green here. So let's see. SJ, are you on here? So SJ was asking in the chat earlier about taking profits, and I've talked about, I don't necessarily take it at a specific percentage for a couple reasons. One, I don't like to watch my P&L while I'm in a trade, and number two, depending on the DTE you're trading, they're going to move a lot differently. So I try to use more like levels on a chart of the stock, and then just take profits at those levels. Now there's not really a level to take anything, to use on Microsoft. I mean, I could go back to a daily chart and look at some of these areas where price kind of turned. Like that would actually probably be a good one. So I could use something like that. Now that's a ways away for taking my first profits, but so you had a little pause and a little bounce off the bottom. I would have liked to see Microsoft push up on the little pause and bounce on the indices, but it hasn't yet. Netflix ticked up back through highs a little bit. MSTR's coming back up, back in the green. Indices coming back towards lows. See that what Netflix is doing, that's what I was looking for out of Microsoft. Indices just kind of pause and barely bounce, and it continues to push. Microsoft is not doing it yet.
Order filled.
Sorry about that. Just turned off my system audio. That was one of my Bics. Microsoft still holding near highs. Meta going red. Indices at lows. Amazon through yesterday's low. Nvidia still coming down. The Dow and the NASDAQ are still barely green. S&P unchanged. Russell's down. Russell's getting pretty weak. Yeah, Russell's flushing. Microsoft staying strong. Let's rip, baby. Rip it. There goes Netflix. So I'm going to put my first profit target at 350 in Microsoft. I may adjust that down a little bit. 330 would be right a little over 10%. But if this thing can pop quickly, if the market can bottom, a lot of choppiness in some of these stocks. Google back and forth, Apple back and forth. Microsoft's starting to move now. Up to those options are at 340. Might hit my 350. Hit it. Hit. 350. Nice. I'll put another profit target in at 420 as a placeholder. This thing wants to keep on ripping. So there's that level I marked on my daily chart right there. It's at about just under 456. Netflix showing really good relative strength. Another little dip in the indices. Netflix not dipping. Microsoft just kind of pausing. Netflix about 12 points away from all-time highs, which was set last week on the 7th. Tesla's starting to move. A little dip in the market, but Tesla decent bounce here on this current 5-minute candle anyway. IWM looking a little bottomy. Bitcoin trying to bounce. Google ripping back up above yesterday's high. Yep, Microsoft went up. I already hit my first profit target on that one. A little pullback here. Netflix just holding. Tesla on the move. Keep your eyes on the Tesla. Tesla is shaking and baking. And Google. Microsoft needs to pop back up. MSTR chopping around unchanged. Banks back on the move. JP Morgan and Bank of America are pushing. GME is pushing. Goog is pushing. Microsoft has kind of fizzled out for now. Yeah, GME is on the move. GME is not a mighty 90. It had a volume bar higher than the first. It would be an upside volume runner. Here's what my chart looks like. Your problem, Chris, is you have a MACD on your chart. That screwed everything up. Healthy little pullback. In Microsoft. S&P and NASDAQ dipping again. Tesla looks like he wants to go. So is Google. Microsoft's dip getting bought up a little bit. BA. Oh boy, BA had a pop. Huh. Something news just came out on Boeing. And selling off. Oh, the order. Yeah, okay. All right, indices bouncing. Meta bouncing. Microsoft had a little run, but it's not really. I mean, I had that one pop to hit my first profit target, but it's not really acting like I had hoped. Netflix kind of pausing as well, not continuing with this bounce. All right, so Tesla's approaching pre-market highs here. I thought that Boeing order was already maybe just the details of it just came out. I thought it was already kind of a done deal. All right, indices dipping a little bit. Netflix back to yesterday's high. Could use that as an entry if you want to get long Netflix. Tesla, a little dip, getting bought up quickly. I just don't really have any level to manage risk around on Tesla. So I'm just going to let it shake out a little bit. Hopefully it can kind of consolidates here under pre-market highs. Maybe form a little line in the sand for me. It's kind of dipping now. S&P back kind of near lows. Microsoft's still holding pretty well. S&P through lows. Let's see what some of these other chip stocks are doing. ABGO's red, MU is a little red, AMD's up 6%, not quite back up to pre-market highs. TSM is bounced off unchanged. SMCI has been all down since the open, but still up 12% after the big gap up. Netflix holding. All right, I'm getting in Netflix. I'll go 1160 calls in Netflix. $11.60 calls filled at 10.56. Now we just need this market to bounce. Bottom and bounce, baby. Everybody up. Google's doing its job. Apple getting back in the green. Just choppy though. I'll put my first profit target in Goog at $12, or Netflix. If it pops above highs of day, should hit it. Microsoft is
Order
consolidating.
partially filled. Order filled. Order filled.
Be back in 1 minute. Gonna go refresh my coffee. Netflix trying to move to highs. MSTR back in the red. What's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin back through lows. Indices pretty wicky at the bottom here. Google trying to get back up to highs. Tesla getting a little wicky. Bank of America was pushing hard through yesterday's high, and it's reversed a decent amount. Microsoft looking like it's trying to get back up. S&P is just right at unchanged, a little bit green, keeps dipping into the red and bouncing back up. Let's go. We need one more leg up out of Netflix here. Nvidia back towards lows. MSTR to lows. PLTR down near lows. Chip stocks have not acted strong since the open, that's for sure. SMH is still up 1/3%. XLK still up 0.4%. Everything else red. Goog back through highs of day. Microsoft trying to get back up there. Netflix just doing nothing, which QQQ and S&P kind of dipping, so if it's doing nothing, I'm good with that. Tesla rolled over, acting like it was ready to charge. Still above yesterday's high, still up 1.5%. Netflix back to yesterday's high. I want to see it hold there. Apple pushed above yesterday's high and dipped and trying to bounce again. GME back through highs of day. S&P back in the green, trying to stay green after dipping into the red again. All right, let's go. Everybody up. Goog's up. Amazon trying to go green. Microsoft trying to get back to highs of day. Meta staying green. Tesla's dip getting bought up a little bit. I would say I have done better with trades a little bit later in the day, like kind of like late morning. Yeah, I would say I've not done as well with my first couple trades compared to my second couple trades. I'd say I need to. I went back and looked at that, and that was the case at one point. So I started keeping track of entry times, and definitely, I think from a runner's perspective, I took that early one in NVIDIA. Obviously, the market flushed, so it went with it. But yeah, I think kind of waiting to see, kind of let the market kind of shake out and kind of potentially pick a direction, I think for runners is a good thing. Baba pushing back up towards highs of day. Google acting very strong. All right, S&P and NASDAQ trying to bounce a little bit. VIX coming down. VIX back down to 18.37. S&P and NASDAQ and Russell just super choppy here the last 30, 40 minutes. Just wiki on both sides. Not GME. GME's still rocking. Google's still rocking. I guess Wall Street decided Google not being the default for Apple is not that big of a deal, because it just basically got back everything it dropped from that May 7th news. Apple dipping. Goog, give Microsoft and Netflix a little of your Momo. Stop being selfish. We need to rotate some of that buying out of Goog and into Netflix and Microsoft. Tesla trying to bounce a little bit. Well, might wrap up the stream. We've been on here for an hour. Really just waiting on Microsoft and Netflix at this point. S&P trying to move up. S&P and NASDAQ kind of at the top of their consolidation areas. Same with IWM. See if they're actually going to break up or just continue chopping here. So I've got my profit target in Netflix, my first profit target at $12. So if it pops through highs of day, that should hit. I mean, I'm right at my line in the sand. If it goes much lower below this yesterday's high, I'm just going to cut it. Microsoft, I already hit my first profit target. I've got a second profit target, kind of just more of a placeholder than anything, to shed some more at $4.20 if it made another leg up. But I'm just going to kind of watch these and manage as SMCI is starting to bounce. AVGO starting to bounce. Some chips starting to bounce. Netflix a little bit. So I'm just going to manage those two positions and then see if any other opportunities shake out throughout the day. Otherwise, everybody have a good rest of your day. See you in Power Hour. Cheers.